These are rules, principles from my succeeding book. Reject little old me-ism, substitute all they can say as no-ism instead. Most of us have a tendency to think little old me. You have a dream, you'd like to be something, you'd like to do something, but then you think, well, wait a minute, little old me could never do that. And that's aided and abetted by little old you-ism, which is all your friends and relatives telling you the same thing. Now, my first big dream when I was a teenager was to go to West Point. And my initial reaction, my uncle was working there. We went to visit, and I fell in love with the place. But my initial reaction was, yeah, geez, these guys are gods, you know, how would I ever do this? But around that time, we used to get the Reader's Digest, my mom did, and they always had one inspirational article. And I would read the magazine, and there was an article by Norman Vincent Peale. And I really liked what he said, so I went and got his book. And one of the things he said in his book is when you try to do something that's like a high achievement, a whole lot of people will discourage you. Don't listen to them. And that was crucial because I was 14 years old. So I decided I want to go to West Point, and Norman said I can do it. So I start working at it, and everybody, my parents, my brothers, my friends, my guidance counselor, my coach, all said in a nice way, forget about it. You know, don't get your hopes up and make sure you have a plan B and all that kind of stuff. And had I not read that Norman Vincent Peale thing about don't listen to that, I would have said, yeah, they're right, I should drop this. But I didn't. And guess what? As Tom said, one day in April 1964, my uncle and my mom said that when the envelope arrived, they were going to open it. I said, no, you're not. That's my envelope. And they said, well, we ain't waiting until you get home from school. So I said, well, then bring it to school. So I'm in class, knock on the door. Assistant principal calls me out. I go out there, they get this big fat envelope, which is a good sign. And I opened it, and I got the appointment, as it's called. And you know, everybody was happy. And I went back in the classroom, and I figured they didn't know anything about anything. But the instructor said, apparently somebody in the room knew the deal and said, Mr. Reed, or Jack, Mr. Reed is what they called me at West Point. Jack is what they called me in high school. What, you got any news? I said, yeah, I just got into West Point. Big cheer, and then they announced it at a whole school assembly. It wasn't for the purpose of announcing it, but because back then in the 60s, getting into West Point was a big deal. The early 60s, pre-Gulf of Tonkin, West Point. So that was the first time everybody told me, you can't do it, little old you-ism. And I ignored them, and I said all they can say is no-ism, and it happened they did not say no.